Environmental officials are back in Genesee County tonight. They're taking a second look after a mysterious illness created a wave of questions in Leroy. News 4's Ed Dranch has new information on this investigation. Ed?
And we have confirmed the area where this train derailed in 1970 is in fact contaminated with a carcinogenic toxin, drawing more speculation about a connection between the accident and the mystery conversion disorder cases in Leroy. A chemical spill caused by a train derailment in 1970 has left lasting effects in Leroy. The train cars involved were carrying cyanide crystals and trichloroethene, otherwise known as TCE. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the cyanide was cleaned up right after the spill. Now, decades later, we've learned at least 30,000 gallons of TCE quickly infiltrated the area. Beyond the white cars and the barbed wire fences where these men dressed in yellow suits are still working, the EPA says is still contaminated with TCE. That TCE has also contaminated the groundwater, the soil, and the bedrock. Although the EPA declined a phone interview, a representative told News 4 crews have been testing the groundwater at the site since 2008. There are more than a dozen groundwater testing wells that are locked and sealed, both inside and outside of this secured area. What workers dug up from these wells sits in blue barrels now, barrels that are being tested for toxins. The barrels have been sitting at the site for some time, and they're only about 4 miles away from Leroy High School, where at least 12 students have been diagnosed with conversion disorder. It's that stress-related illness with Tourette's-like symptoms. The mystery surrounding the high number of cases has been drawing national attention.
We just saw a little example of Lauren's twitching there. And again, it's not something that's volitional, even when it's conversion. It's outside of consciousness, so they can't access control over it.
Famed activist Erin Brockovich has sent a team to Leroy searching for a connection between the disorder and the derailment. The EPA says there isn't one. I made it a point to ask if the public should be concerned about the toxic area. The EPA says no. People in the area who once used well water are now using public water. I'll have more for you online at WIVB.com. Reporting live tonight, Ed Dranch, News 4 at 5:30.
The Wyoming County DA has charged 2 Warsaw High School wrestlers in connection with a locker room brawl that broke the jaw of a teammate. News 4's Ed Dranch is live tonight in Warsaw.
And we're in front of the Warsaw Town Court where those 2 teenagers will face a judge in the coming weeks. They are accused of bullying and hazing charges. Of course, it's after that 15-year-old had his jaw broken, and the district attorney says if the room was better supervised, none of this would have happened. After 12 days of investigation and speaking with nearly 30 witnesses, 2 Warsaw High School wrestlers are accused of hazing and bullying one of their own. Formal charges were pressed against a 16 and 17-year-old student. Warsaw police say they hit one young wrestler all over his body, then coerced that one and another teammate to hit each other so hard. When all was said and done, police say a younger wrestler was badly beaten. He had a broken jaw. Warsaw Assistant Police Chief Sean Highbush says the assault happened in a team room with no supervision.
I was outraged to see that this took place on a team atmosphere where these guys are, they say that they're a family.
Word about the assault traveled fast around Warsaw High School. Tyler Crandall says he spoke with one of the kids accused of leading the attack moments after it happened.
He wasn't sure what was going to happen at that point.
And now he's being charged with hazing.
Yeah, it's just blown up so quickly.
According to a report from the Wyoming County District Attorney, Crandall's friend reportedly walked out of the team room with another wrestler laughing.
There was a physical altercation that took place. It was a graphic depiction.
Cell phone video was obtained by police that they say shows the first punch. Through their investigation, Warsaw police say they learned that video of the other punches, including the jaw-breaking blow, was intentionally deleted to make it seem like the victim was really at fault. That wrestler has also been charged with tampering with evidence. Earlier tonight, I spoke with the coach who's been put on suspension for 30 days. He says he has no permission to speak with the media, but once he does, he will speak with us and says he's looking forward to clearing his name. Meantime, those 2 wrestlers will be in the town of Warsaw court in early January. Reporting live in Warsaw tonight, Ed Dranch, News 4 at 10.
you had no permission to put the stone in the middle of the street.
I don't have permission to put a stone in the middle of the street. We usually put stone in the middle of the street. That's how we operate.
This story turned up another notch after we went digging for answers straight from the contractor himself.
News 4's Ed Dranch picks up this part of our team coverage tonight. Ed?
And Don and Jackie, the bus driver blamed the accident on the blinding sun and a massive pile of gravel. As El said, it was in the middle of the street. Tonight, the construction company owner says he's not taking the blame.
No, I'm not at fault. I'm not even close to fault. I didn't run into a stone pile. She did.
Carmelo Shasha says his company, Masters Edge Incorporated, is in the clear after this accident on West Woodside Avenue. His crews dumped a massive pile of gravel in the middle of the street. The school bus crashed through that pile before crashing into the house.
You should be aware of where you're going at all times.
Masters Edge was hired by the city of Buffalo to replace sidewalks in this neighborhood.
According to the city, though, you had no permission to put stone in the middle of the street.
Yeah, we usually, the city doesn't give us permission to put it down, but occasionally we do. Mistakes happen.
So you break the law.
No, I don't say we break the law.
You just said occasionally you do it without permission.
I said we don't break the law.
The bus driver returned to the scene hours after the crash.
Ma'am, is there anything that you want to say about what happened this morning? Are you okay?
She told police the blinding early morning sun stopped her from spotting this pile before it was too late.
She got 20 kids in the bus, and she should be aware of where she was going. She could have went a little slower instead of going around to the house. Obviously, she was going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. That's why she ended up in the house. If she was going 10, 15 miles an hour, she wouldn't be where she is today, would she?
But sources told News 4 the bus driver was traveling below the speed limit. The city says Shasha's crew is to blame. Quote, as per the contract with the city, the contract prohibits dumping or storing gravel on a city right-of-way. The contractor is therefore responsible for any damages incurred as a result of this accident. And News 4 has learned the bus driver was actually traveling at 18 miles per hour when she crashed. Witnesses say there were no cones around the gravel at that time. The driver has been suspended pending the outcome of an internal investigation. Reporting live tonight, Ed Dranch, News 4 at 5.
One-on-one with a Canadian call girl.
I am a sex worker. I am an individual who provides sexual services for money or compensation.
Tonight, she talks business in the bedroom and her fight to change the law. Good evening, I'm Diana Fairbanks. Right across the border in Canada, prostitution is legal, and with this line of work comes risk. Tonight, News 4's Ed Dranch has a candid conversation with a sex worker who is determined to make the streets safer. Ed?
And Diana, many sex workers are afraid to come forward. They have families, other jobs. But Nikki Thomas is quite outspoken on the issue. She didn't hold back while we were talking shop, and tonight her fight for change marches on. What's considered by some a salacious service in the United States is completely legal just north of the border. Canadian so-called sex workers competing for business.
It doesn't have the same sort of emotional content that a word like prostitute might have.
But with all due respect, you are a prostitute.
Yes, I am.
At 31 years old, Nikki Thomas has been selling sex for 5 years. For her safety, we agreed to meet in a generic location to discuss her business.
How much money are we talking here?
That's personal.
Is it a lot? Is it a little bit?
I do okay.
For the sake of this story, I had many different conversations with many different sex workers. I'm told they're in all different tax brackets, some making as much as 6 figures a year. But deep in the fine print on prostitution, there's a catch.
The problem is that the way to do it the most safely is the way that's also considered to be illegal, which is in the privacy of your own home where you have control over the surroundings.
According to Canadian law, it's illegal to have sex for money in a location set up for that purpose. That's known as a common bawdy house. It's also against the law to live on the avails of the prostitution of another person, meaning a sex worker like Thomas cannot have a booker, a driver, nor any paid security.
Sex workers' rights are human rights, and we absolutely deserve the same protections and the same freedoms as everybody else.
She and the other sex professionals of Canada are taking on the government, petitioning for the repeal of those laws. taking their case all the way to the Supreme Court.
We do feel that the state has no business in the bedrooms of the nation, and what happens behind closed doors should not be interfered with in any way by the laws or by other parts of society.
Some agree with Thomas.
I believe it would be a good thing to have laws to protect people in their businesses, and this is another business.
Others are absolutely against having the laws overturned.
I just don't believe in legalizing it because I think it's contributing to allowing the prostitution.
They're worried that it's going to lead to a huge influx of sex workers coming from other parts of the world. They're worried that it's going to lead to an increase in trafficking, and that simply isn't the case. The truth is, all that's going to happen is that one of the most marginalized and vulnerable groups in society will finally have access to the justice system and to the same protections and rights as everybody else already has.
Have you ever been in a situation where you had to say, whoa,
yes,
easy there?
There have been a couple of times when I've had to slow people down and make sure that they didn't push my boundaries, and they responded appropriately.
But in the case that a client doesn't respond, Thomas has no legal way of getting help. So she does her homework, getting a client's name, phone number, and a physical description. A friend, she says, always has that information.
If a client is aware of this, then that means the opportunism disappears. And the vast majority of violence against sex workers is opportunistic. People perpetrate violence against sex workers because they think they can get away with it.
If for nothing else other than safety, Thomas says the change in law will have a positive impact on a lucrative, legitimate business.
It's something that I've done. It's something that I chose to do out of my own free will, and I don't have any regrets about it.
The Supreme Court in Canada is likely to rule on the laws in the coming years. As for now, the way Thomas conducts her business is still considered to be illegal, but she says no court will prosecute these cases until the higher court rules. Reporting live tonight, Ed Dranch, News 4 at 5:30.